see. We'll show it to you next.
President Trump successfully stopped the United Nations from trying to impose this massive global carbon shipping tax the White House says would have funded progressive climate pet projects that Trump says was the Green New Scam. Joining us now to discuss this and more is former White House economic advisor Steve Moore. Good morning to you, sir. Happy Friday Eve. Feels like a holiday when we say that.
Yeah.
So the International Maritime Organization essentially wanted to impose this $150 billion carbon tax on U.S. exports. So essentially you're taxing the emissions, I guess, from ships. Now, your organization sounded that alarm. How important was this for the president to take action?
Huge. And this was the first time, and I've been doing this for a long time, probably 30, 40 years, that the international organization, United Nations, would impose a tax on the United States. That seems, as the Wall Street Journal called it, taxation without representation. This was going to be a tax on American ships, our cargo ships, as you see on the screen. Also, don't forget, our cruise ships as well would have paid this tax. It was going to be about $150 billion tax over 10 years. So it was a very big tax. The United States would have paid most of this tax. Other countries would have paid it. But the big winners would have been China, because we would have had to retire our old ships and buy new ships from China. So thankfully, Trump intervened, just as you said, Jan, at the last minute and told the United Nations countries, if you vote for this, there will be repercussions, because this is an assault on America and American trade. And thank God he did that. So we did, at least for a year, delay this tax, but we'll probably be talking about this same time next year.
Well, and so to your point, who is the International Carbon Shipping Police? Who, you said other countries would pay it. Would they? Would China pay it?
Well, so we tabled the amendment, so it's not going to happen for now. But the way it would have worked was that this, as you said earlier, this was part of the climate change agenda to essentially tax American ships for their emissions. And this is part of the other people who were part of this, Jan, were the Europeans, because, as you know, the Europeans have handcuffed themselves to this kind of net zero idea that is deindustrialized Europe. They were trying to impose the same rules on us. And that's why Trump's intervention was really America first, saying, no, we're not going to comply with this. And we're going to punish countries that try to impose this tax on American ships and American cargo.
But do the rules apply to everyone? Because we keep hearing China is opening up a coal plant every 3 days. Do the same rules apply across
That's such a great point. I mean, the idea that countries like China would lecture the United States about our emissions when China's emissions are 5 times higher than ours are, it shows the hypocrisy of this whole climate change movement.
Yes, that's why I was wondering, if you don't pay it, what happens? Well, what's the consequence for countries who do not pay? Right now, speaking of China, by the way, Trump is trying to shore up rare earth minerals as China tries to block exports, which we know obviously could cripple the global industry. What did you make of the deal the U.S. signed with Australia for those minerals? Is it enough? We know China mines 70% of those minerals. The U.S. relies 100% on those imports. By the way, 95% of which do come from China.
Yeah, this is a real outrage and a national scandal that I'm so glad you brought this up, Jan, because, the country in the world that has the most mineral resources is the United States. We have, in the mountains out west, the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, we have a treasure chest of these minerals. The problem is, for the last 25 years or so, we have not been mining in this country, partly because of very restrictive environmental rules. Now, look, nobody's talking about mining in Yosemite or Yellowstone National Park, but we can do this in an environmentally friendly way, much more so than China. So right now, you nailed it, my friend. China and Russia now control about 80 to 90% of the minerals. And it's very similar to the 1970s and 80s when OPEC controlled the oil market and they created a cartel. So Trump is basically saying, not only should we do drill baby drill, we should have a mine baby mine strategy where we can get the resources right in our own backyard. I mean, we have a treasure chest worth $12 trillion, Jan, right beneath our feet.
Well, if China blocks it, I don't know if there's much choice. I think the U.S. is going to have to. Exactly. They'll be forced to. Talk to us very quickly about your recent post regarding college loans and how tuition costs go up with loans that are unlimited, but suddenly come down when they're capped. Here's an example that you showed from Santa Clara School of Law. You can see right here in the 2026-2027 school year that the tuition goes down to $50,000 again when you start to see those loans capped.
Yeah, what that is telling us is something that I had suspected as an economist for a long time, was that student loans are not reducing tuitions. They're just, every time we raise the student loan amount that the taxpayer pays, guess what, Jan? The universities and colleges just raise their tuitions. So it's like a dog chasing its tail. Right. We are not making college more affordable. We're making it less affordable by doling all of this money into the universities. And so I think Trump is doing the right thing, capping the amount that students can borrow for these universities, because it'll force the universities to reduce their tuitions.
Former Trump White House economic advisor Steve Moore, great to talk to you as always and get your expertise.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us. You too.